It all started a long time ago and has happened since once a year. This horrible night, it was the end of October, and I was eager to for a new month. Who really knows why? Anyways, I was walking home that night from a friend's house down the street. It was around 5, so there was a significant amount of daylight to guide the way. Even though I lived 20 minutes away, the sky seemed to dim rapidly. I picked up the pace after noticing this, cold wind blowing against my back as if it's urging me along. After what seemed forever, I found myself in the safety of my own home, unharmed, so it stayed that way. I jolted way around in my house, and for some reason, still a little paranoid from the walk home. Regardless, I had nothing to fear. So with a cup of coffee in my hand, I settled down in front of the television. My favorite show was The Marathon, in fact, which had raised my spirits dramatically. When the clock struck 6:30, it was the beginning of the new episode. What a joyous day I was having. Well, it was joyous up until that point. The sky was consumed by a blanket of darkness. The trees soon became looming, shadowy figures in my yard. I tilted my head to the side so I could get a better view of the sky, perhaps to see some stars or the moon. However, there was none. It was dark as an abyss. This did not worry me, at least not as much as what happened next. I looked out of my window and saw something move swiftly across my driveway. I jolted straight out of my chair and pulled to the curtain farther away from the window. It was gone. My imagination I told myself that, or a stick being thrown at vigorously blowing my wind. Yes, that must have been it. I went to go sit back down, but the figure once more caught my eye. The next thing I knew, I had gone into a total shock. The door had been knocked on. I hobbled over to the door, fearing the outcome of it opening. I hesitated. 1 minute had passed, and since one more sound of knocking filled my ears. Ever so slowly, I reached the doorknob, and when it had met my hand, I reluctantly turned it. This sight was horrifying. A pale white, wrinkling skin, dotted with eyes that appeared to be similar to a black hole's. A short, ominous figure it was. The voices coming from it were high-pitched and nearly a screech. I was unable to hear the horrid figure due to its screech, and also taking on characteristics of a mumble. For a short while I stood there for a while in awe, fear of not knowing what to do. Once more the creature muttered something under its breath. Once I stared at it, this time nearly falling backwards as I walked in reverse with choppy steps, my mouth wide open. I waited for a response. Now the creature seemed fed up, shouting, "I demand that you hand it over." My eyes became as wide as dinner plates. With tumbling hands, I made a desperate attempt to slam the door shut, but the creature soon outspread to its hands and prevented the door from any further motion. It screamed, "I demand you to give it to me right now." After another delay, a long hand emerged from the beast as it firmly grasped my hand. I cringed in fear, for it was moving its skin. I could barely look. Beneath it was a small, round-eyed, pale-looking person, like a character. I passed out. The next morning I woke up and all of my candy, sweets, or any kind of sort of treat had been removed from my possession. I called my friend who lived down the street and told him the events. I told him how irregular and terrifying this first account was. He seemed a little unsure of my story. He said something might be wrong with me. I told him that I could call this day the Day of Demands, due to the demanding ghost. I decided to name it for my friend because this occurs every year. However, I think he was a little scared, for even he changed the subject and started talking about this weird thing called Halloween.